Mental illnesses can be categorized as mood, anxiety, substance-related, psychotic, cognitive, developmental, or personality. In order for a person to be diagnosed with a mental illness, they must begin with an evaluation by a doctor or a mental health professional. There are several assessments that can be performed to determine mental illness. However, there is no laboratory test that can be used to diagnose a mental illness. If a doctor or a mental health professional is unable to determine a mental illness in a patient, they may be referred to a psychologist or a psychiatrist for further testing and evaluation.
Need for treatment is a cause to hospitalize people against their will. There are two causes: dangers to self and dangers to others. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. To summarize that, people argue that there also has to be process and evidence in order to hospitalize people for involuntary treatment. Here is the testimony of an individual that had involuntary commitment.
I talked to him this morning. I said, "You didn't even listen to me. You call yourself a counselor. Why did you decide to do this instead of trying to listen to me and understand what I was going through?" And then he said, "Well, it doesn't matter. You're going anyways." He didn't even listen to what I had to say. He didn't even listen to the situation. He had decided before I even got to the house that I was coming up here. Either I come freely or the officers would have to subdue me and bring me in.
1/4 of admissions into inpatient psychiatric facilities in the United States are involuntary.
One basic right of people who have been committed is the right to treatment. There are 4 standards that come with this, referred to as the Wyatt standards.
Ricky Wyatt was a 15-year-old boy who had been labeled as a juvenile delinquent and was receiving treatment at the Bryce Hospital in Alabama. Wyatt's aunt believed that he was receiving improper care at the Bryce Hospital and took the case to court. Because of this case, the Wyatt standards were created.
The first one is they must provide with a humane psychological and physical environment.
The second one, there must be a qualified and sufficient staff for the administration of treatment.
There must be individualized treatment plans.
The last one is restrictions of patient freedoms must be kept to a minimum.
Many people fear that the drugs they are going to be put on will take away from their consciousness, which leads us to our next topic, the right to refuse treatment. The next skit will show a patient who is refusing his treatment.
We're here because you need to take treatment for your schizophrenia.
No, I don't. I don't have anything like that.
Yeah, it would help with your delusions and hallucinations.
No, I'm fine. I don't need anything. I'm fine.
Why don't you want it?
I don't need it.
But you have hallucinations.
I'm fine. I can handle it. I don't need anything.
Okay.
5 rules have been used for an individual to plead insanity.
The first rule is the am notin rule, which talks about a person's ability to tell right from wrong.
The second rule is the irresistible impulse. This is when they know what they are doing is wrong, but they cannot deny the need to do the action.
The American Law Institute, or the ALI, is known as the lack of appreciation of the criminality, but not the absence of understanding the criminal act.
The fourth rule is the Insanity Defense Reform Act. A person charged with a criminal offense should not be found guilty by reason of insanity if it is shown that, as a result of mental disease or retardation, he is unable to appreciate the wrongfulness of his conduct at the time of his offense.
The next rule is Durham. This rule was dropped in the early 70s and stated that the insanity plea could be used on any crime that was the product of mental disease or defect.
Many of the rules for incompetency to stand trial are based on Daniel M. Naughton. In 1843, M. Naughton believed that England's prime minister wanted to kill him, most likely due to M. Naughton having schizophrenia. M. Naughton attempted to kill the prime minister but ended up killing the prime minister's secretary instead. When M. Naughton went to trial, medical experts testified that he was psychotic and could not be found guilty due to insanity.
When guilty but mentally ill, a person receives the normal time for their crime but will also receive treatment for their mental illness. This does not eliminate the insanity defense. It is merely an alternative for defendants who are found to be mentally ill, but whose illness is not severe enough to relieve them of the criminal responsibility.
Grave disability is when someone is so incapacitated from the mental disorder they are unable to carry out their daily routines. They need someone to be with them, giving them treatment, even if they do not agree with it.
Incompetence to stand on trial is when people do not have an understanding of what is happening to them in the courtroom and cannot participate in their defense. The mental health system is a multi-billion-dollar industry in the U.S. that still is not big enough to support all of the mentally ill people in the United States. $113 billion are spent yearly on the mentally ill, including prescription drugs and outpatient treatments. Mental health care in the U.S. is difficult to access, even though 1 in every 5 American people are diagnosed as being mentally ill. Factors such as price, attitude, and accessibility are major limits on the mental health care system.
One flaw within the government is that when the mentally ill are released from jail, they are usually not connected to community-based treatment centers. This population needs to have the constant management. Since they do not have the support, they slip right back into the same habits that got them into jail the first time.
Go for it.
Wait. Go ahead.
You're a butt.
So just read that.
I need to be able to see it. I can't do things from memory like that.
Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go.
There you go.
There's I do. Football's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. I just don't know why your head is like. Whatever.
Oh, we're already filming. Come on.
Hi.
Do it again.
Why is that? Because I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, and what makes you feel that way?
You know what? It's just an unknown. It's an unknown familiarity that I don't know squat about, so it happens to be unknown. You got that? Unknown. I have no idea.
I think that would be fun.